Hi, I'm Joyce-Burns, and I am the vice president or whatever, co-owner of DonnellyJustice.me, and recently I've put up a video called Torn and Terrorized Part 6, and there are videos 1 through 5 where I explain how naive we were. Excuse me. We were very naive and innocent of their accusations, and they did many things to us that were just wrong. And in this part 6, it may seem like, well, it will seem like that we manipulated CPS in our second case, which we did. But it was after years of being railroaded and lied about and pretty much emotionally kicked around and torn up. And most of you who have been through any case with CPS, you will totally understand. We closed the first case because the ex-wife wanted me to move out, and she wanted me out of my husband's life, and that was the only way we got the case closed, was to make CPS and her believe that I no longer lived in the house. That was the only way to get it closed, because they kept on falsifying hair follicle tests, and even when that case closed, they were falsifying another hair follicle. But I acted like I was out of the state, so I didn't even pay attention. I didn't even show up for the hair follicle test, and they falsified it. I didn't even give a hair sample. And MHS, mental health systems, they had changed my drug test results. I have proof of all that. And videos 1 through 5 show proof of us complying and jumping through hoops and doing everything that they wanted to do. But you have to appease them. You have to tell them, oh, thank you you're helping my family so much. We did that little thing. But for the most part, we did everything by the book. Everything. We didn't do anything, that would have initiated any kind of negative feedback from them. And our second case, when they removed the children at the police station, after the first hearing, they gave the kids back to Bill, but then they ordered the hair follicle test, and we knew what they were gonna do, and then they did that. They put a letter on our door saying that his drug test came back negative, but then they submit a positive with no name and no donor ID, nothing on it to say whose test it was. And then the judge removed the children again from him and placed them with my dad. And we just had enough. It was just enough. And we just weren't going to let them do that to us anymore. So, but we tried. I filed documents. I filed a response to their stupid petition, and they didn't even accept it into the record, and because I had too many legitimate objections. And then they weren't providing the services. Bill had to pay for all of his drug tests himself, and we were totally broke. And then the ex-wife started calling, and my dad couldn't handle my son, so he's my son. These are my kids. I'll be damned if I'm going to let someone else just take care of them. Like my dad. I'm not going to burden my dad with my children. So anyway, so it may seem like we manipulated them in this video, and we did. I'm not gonna lie, but it was after years of having to deal with them. And, when I won't reveal the rest of it's actually part 7. I'll be making that pretty soon. I just wanted everyone to know that we only manipulated them because we felt we had to. We just were tired. We weren't putting up with it anymore, and that will reflect in part 7 and it explains our actions. We just can't, if parents didn't put up with CPS, if you just said no, if everyone just said no to CPS, they would give them less power. I mean, we're all rare. They'll take the children that are good. They take the children that are adoptable and good in foster care. Why? Because foster parents are complaining that kids are hard to handle. They don't want the hard to handle children, so they remove the good kids. And that's our kid. And that's not fair. The people who are having children and born addicted to drugs, they get to keep their kids because they don't want them, because they're not adoptable. So I just wanted to explain. My Family, Torn and Terrorized, Part 6 by Joyce-Burns. Previously on Torn and Terrorized, my husband and I had planned to have a baby, and I gave birth to a very healthy baby boy on November 14th, 2007. We named him after my parents, Don and Ellie, so it's Donnelly, Keaton Burns. My husband's ex-wife was extremely jealous and vindictive. She had been calling CPS for months, and on the day that Donnelly was born, she called 40 times. She finally told CPS, after many calls of them not responding, she said, "That baby will die if you let them take it home." So CPS terrorized me in the hospital and said that both me and my baby tested positive for methamphetamine. They were lying, and I proved that. CPS went to my home and terrorized my husband and my daughter. CPS removed my daughter from that day from the house, and they removed my son, my newborn baby, the next day at the hospital. We went to court. Hair follicle tests were ordered, which we were certain would exonerate us. I practically fainted when my lawyer told me that our tests were positive. We were ordered to participate in CPS's services, including parenting classes, drug counseling, AA meetings, and regular counseling. We had to give 3 negative urine tests before they could return the children. And shortly thereafter, I got my own hair follicle test done, and it was negative. The children were returned to our home on January 26th, 2008, but the case remained open for 2 years, and we had to complete all the required programs and jump through all their hoops. In August 2009, I had enough of the BS and decided not to participate or cooperate any further, because they always found a reason to keep it open, because every time the case was about to close, the ex-wife heard about it through my stepdaughter, and so I just said I wasn't going to deal with them anymore, and they gave Bill custody of the kids, and I moved out. First I moved out, then they gave Bill custody and closed the case, and then I moved back in. To learn how we were railroaded, please see parts 1 through 5. Our second case began in 2010, and the first case had been closed, and Bill had custody. To us, they were merely pieces of paper. We simply continued raising our children. So a year later, 2010, during that year, my mother passed away. I lost my job. Bill couldn't find a job. Bill's brother passed away, and our mortgage company was foreclosing on our home. We didn't understand how our loan payments fell behind as we paid our mortgage cash every month. We paid it through MoneyGram. Despite the financial problems and our losses, we were very thankful that we were together as a family, regardless of what CPS would say about it. We were very careful, though, not to let the ex-wife Leslie know we were still together, as she really thought I had moved out of state. That's what we told CPS. I lived in Arizona. Our mortgage loan was serviced through HSBC. In September 2010, they returned late payment and said we were in default. That couldn't be correct, so I began conducting an audit of our loan. I was performing the audit with haste, but HSBC kept pressing us, so we began to liquidate our personal property assets. Sorry about the sounds. And there's all of our bank statements that included the payment and our receipts from MoneyGram. And all those papers there are for 7 years. We were actually ahead $900. Bill had recently purchased an old Gibson guitar from a roadside merchant selling garage sale type items. The man gave Bill a receipt for the guitar, and there is a picture of the guitar. I put an ad on Craigslist. Many people responded to this ad. One guy called and asked for the serial number, and My husband Bill purposely gave him the wrong serial number because people can be scandalous. And that scandalous person was Jerry Steelfox. He also lives in our town, Hemet, California. This loser wanted that guitar for free, so he called the cops and claimed the guitar was his. He provided a receipt with that wrong serial number on it. Later on, they said we altered the serial number on the guitar. But we had no reason to believe it was stolen. In fact, my husband contacted Gibson Guitars, and they did a serial number check for reported thefts. The jail day, on November 3rd, 2010, I had just arrived home when all of a sudden I was surrounded by cops. They told me to open the door, and when I did, they forced me inside. They wanted to see the guitar, and there's our house with that's not the actual cops that were at our house, but that's what it looked like. Bill said the guitar was in the bedroom, and 2 officers followed him there, while another cop sat on our couch and played with Kayla's ukulele. I went into the bedroom to see what was going on, and before I knew it, both Bill and I were in handcuffs. And the guy on the couch playing the ukulele was in Jerry Steelfox's band. One of the officers was trying to intimidate me to fess up by threatening to find dope in our house and have CPS take our kids. We later learned that the cops thought Bill was another William R. Burns who also lives in Hemet, and he has the same birthday but has a lengthy criminal and drug history. Needless to say, no dope was found in our house. The other William Burns is several years older, though. We were all taken to the local police station, including the 2 children who were home at the time, Kayla and Donnelly. They held the kids there until CPS came. It was so unreasonable for the cops to refuse Kayla the opportunity to call her grandfather before calling CPS. He only lived 5 minutes away. And a few months prior to that, the Hemet PD had begun to claim that they were being targeted by a gang who was putting pipe bombs on station property. That's really safe for my kids, right? Of course, that was just baloney just so they could get more funding. And here's the article, or one of the articles, about that issue. My children were used to eating dinner around 6 p.m. every night. They didn't eat until 10 p.m. that night. My kids went without food and water for 8 hours, sitting at a boring old police station, confused. And it was complete BS. You know how the cops are supposed to keep the evidence in a special room undisturbed until such time the case is resolved? Well, the cops gave the guitar, good old Jerry Steelfox, within a half an hour of booking us. They never even proved it was his, and they gave it to him. It had a different, his receipt had a different serial number than what was on the guitar. And there's Mr. Jerry Steelfox with his guitar that was allegedly stolen, but this was before it was stolen. He claims that it was stolen from him in July 2010. But take a good look where that arrow was. Check it out. We're getting a little closer here. Do you see a whammy bar? I don't. Our guitar clearly had a whammy bar. It was never proven to be that guy's guitar, and they just handed it to him. And this is what started our CPS case, second CPS case, and ultimately our parental rights terminated. And as soon as Bill was placed in a holding cell, he called a bail bondsman. Our bail was very low due to the lack of any serious criminal history. Bail was posted before CPS even got there. But in the petition that was filed by the department, CPS claimed that the children were abandoned with nowhere to go. They just didn't release us until CPS took our kids. The emergency worker knew about our first case, so she attempted to drug test us. Bill submitted to the oral swab, but I refused because if you don't give them a sample, they have nothing to falsify, so I thought. I was then dragged out of my cell by 6 police officers who held me down while some lady stuck a needle in my arm, or tried to. I kicked and screamed because I was pissed off by the unprofessional conduct of the police officers and because I hate needles. That lady had a very difficult time catching any blood in her vial because it ended up all over me, all over her, and all over the floor. There's video. Well, there was video. There's cameras all over. I don't have any of that footage because, those cameras weren't working that day, of course. I was literally thrown back into the holding cell. There was another girl in there with me, and she had been arrested in a big drug bust earlier that day. Right after putting me in, they called her out and took her over to the booking area. And she was like talking to them, and she was looking at me and looking at them. So then they put her in a different cell. And about 10 minutes later, I was again removed from the holding cell and taken to booking. They put the other girl into the different cell. I was then searched again, and this time I had to strip naked in a room that looked like a locker room. They told me to get dressed, and I was taken back to my holding cell. So then I was charged with being under the influence, even though I heard the lady say that she did not get enough in her vial, and what she did get had not even left the building for testing. And I was also being charged with possession of paraphernalia. Wow, refused to drug test for CPS, and they sick the cops on you. I had some amazing invisible dope because it was somewhere on my body that changes from being invisible to visible whenever a cop says it's there. Guarantee they didn't have my fingerprints on it. Talk about railroading. You see, CPS has collaborative partners, and they all work together to ensure funding for the entire county. I call them court cohorts collaborating to collect kids for cash. We were released 5 minutes after CPS left with our children, and that was because of our first case. So the social worker placed Kayla and Donnelly with my dad, who could have just come and picked them up from the house. To make matters worse, Jerry Steelfox posted a status on his special Recover My Guitar fake Facebook page and told all his friends how he found the thieves. His friends made comments in the form of threats directed towards us and our home, like, burn him at the stake. 2 days later, a brick was thrown through our front window. Bill went to the hearing for the CPS hearing, and I stayed with the kids at my dad's. Bill managed to convince the court cohorts that I was not living there with him and the kids, as I lived in Arizona. Luckily, my dad was aware of how we managed to get the first case closed, so he covered for us and said that I lived in Arizona, yet I went back and forth. The judge returned the children to Bill, but ordered a hair follicle test. Here we go again. We knew exactly what they intended on doing. If I were to do things all over again, knowing what we know now, we would have sold our soul to pay for a hair follicle test that same day. But after paying the bail bondsman $1,000 we were saving for the mortgage, we did not have any money, so we thought of another idea to prove the results were falsified if it came back positive. And we still have that evidence. Meanwhile, we were still losing the house and fighting criminal charges. In my case, the stolen property charges were dropped, but I had to go to court on their fake drug and paraphernalia charges. I opted for the diversion program, which would have completely erased it from my record, like it never happened. We were assigned a new social worker, Christine Vernier. She seemed to have a crush on Bill. I heard her cooing at him during the visit to our home, as I was merely a few feet away from her, yet she had no clue I was there. It's just behind the door. You know, about Vernier, she drives around in a county car while she has a warrant, an active warrant. She did have a warrant, a bench warrant. Now it's just a failure to pay warrant. But then she still might not even have a valid driver's license. And here's her little criminal or record here regarding that ticket that she got for getting in an accident and not having insurance. She failed to take care of this case she got the ticket in 2006, never appeared on it, so she had a FTA, failure to appear, which is criminal, for until 2010. She hit another vehicle, she didn't have insurance, and she's driving around in a county car with a warrant and no valid driver's license for 4 years. She paid a little bit on that ticket and hasn't paid since. She might not even have a valid driver's license, I don't know. And here's the proof, 2006 to 2010. The FTA warrant at PC's penal code, and she still has an active warrant. Because it's failure to pay, not as serious, but still she's driving around in a county car with kids in the car. Also, Christine probably sells store gift cards that are meant for children. She accidentally left this piece of paper at our house. Now, Patrick Vernier is her son. At the time, he was 16 or 17. Card rule: sell and buy gift card. Maybe he's buying them, maybe they're buying them, but most likely they're selling them because CPS always has gift cards for the kids. You know, during that month, she visited Bill at the house several times, and that security system alerted us to anyone that came close to our property. So when we saw that she was coming, I would take the kids and go out the back door. She never even asked how the kids were or where they were at all. I would just went next door. You know, she told Bill that she liked men who were neat because the house was spotless. Sorry, Christine, Bill doesn't like sociopathic social workers. That month, Christine also called Bill from her private cell phone. On November 28th, she had told Bill that she was recommending to the court that the case be closed. On the 29th, Bill went to San Diego to speak to a bankruptcy attorney. And he didn't expect to stay the night in San Diego, but due to the attorney being late for their appointment, they had to resume their meeting until the next morning, and rather than drive all the way back up from San Diego, well, it's only an hour and a half, but getting Bill back down there at 8 was challenging. But he didn't bring his phone charger, so he wasn't able to charge his phone since he hadn't brought it, and the kids were with me. Christine called him late afternoon, but his phone was off. On December 6th, which was 6 days later, Christine came to the house. She was relentless with the doorbell and knocking. None of our cars were even parked in the front of the house. She called Bill again and left another message. She left her business card and a letter on the door. And there's a copy of the letter. And I'm just going to zoom in here in just a second. It says, Mr. Burns, I am writing this letter because I have been unable to get a hold of you via phone. Your phone queue is full. I need to speak with you before court. In fact, I would like to speak to you this week. Your drug test came back negative. I would like for you to submit another hair follicle so the court can see that you're not currently using drugs. Please call me immediately to avoid further action. She's such an idiot. On Monday, Bill called her back, and she answered with, "Where the hell have you been? You didn't answer your phone, and you weren't home. I should come take your kids right now." First, hair follicle tests do not show current use, and two, the hearing was the next day. It's crazy. So the next day was court. Christine brought a piece of paper with her to court that she claimed was the results of Bill's hair follicle tests. The one that he had submitted to earlier in November. The one that the judge ordered. And the one that Vernier was referring to in her letter. What a railroad. This document had no name, no donor ID, no specimen ID, no lab name, no collection date, no collection site, no certifying scientist. In fact, there was nothing to determine whose test it was, where it was tested, or how it was tested. And here is a copy of that piece of paper she claimed was the results of Bill's hair follicle test. Notice the same old CDT, the drug fakers, the hair follicle fakers. Here's it zoomed in. No name, nothing. Nothing on it. Whose test is that? And that is the document that the judge used or based his decision on to remove our children from Bill. So they removed the kids from Bill and set another hearing date. The judge asked where the kids were at that time, and Bill said that they were with their grandfather, so the judge said, that's where they'll stay. Without talking to my father, nobody called him, nobody asked him. He was never given any direction whatsoever. The judge also ordered that social services provide Bill with, quote, services to reunite him with the children. But CPS social workers often disobey court orders simply to delay the progress of parents' case plans. They do this so they can terminate the parental rights sooner, and they can claim the parent didn't try hard enough. We decided that Bill should just pay for the testing himself because they weren't providing that. So he did all the testing and paid for the testing himself, so he would have plenty of negative urine drug tests to show the court at the next hearing. No one ever called my dad to ask him, like I said, no one ever called to ask him to see if he would care for the kids, nor did any social worker come by to speak with him. My father was giving no instructions, no rules, no orders, no direction whatsoever. The social worker did not even call or come by until a week before the January hearing. Christine Vernier claims in her report that she attempted to visit the children at my father's home on December 23rd. This is a lie. I was at my dad's with the kids and on high alert for social workers or anyone knocking on the door. If Vernier had come by, we would have known. During the holiday season, social workers in Riverside County visit the children before Christmas to deliver presents that they collect from donations. Every child gets a gift. But my kids didn't get any gifts that year. Oh, wait, she came by in January, a week before the hearing, so over a month after Christmas. When she finally did come, she spent 7 minutes there discussing the document she brought to court with Kayla because Kayla knew it was falsified. At the at the hearing, a few days later, or a week later, Christine brought another document to court claiming that it was page 1 to the former submitted test document. Bill presented to the court 6 weeks of randomly performed drug tests proving he was not consuming any drugs. And there's a copy. There's all of his drug tests from December to January. And he had the testing facility fax them directly to the court. From December 1st to January 20th. So that's 19 tests in 49 days. And drugs, the methamphetamine stays in your system for a minimum of 3 days. So that covers that. The court didn't consider these tests solely because CPS didn't pay for them. They objected and said it was hearsay, and the judge sustained that objection. He sustained it, meaning, okay, there's hearsay. Stricken. Now, my father was 74 at the time, and he was not very happy with the whole situation. My mom had passed away the year before, and he had a hard time with everything that was happening. And Donnelly was only 3 and very, very active. I tried hard to make it easier on my father, and CPS didn't know I was there. I was living there. It's extremely easy to fake them out, just so you know. You just have to know how they work. We tried to reassure my dad that Bill would probably have the children returned due to the 6 weeks of negative tests, along with the arguments I made in the response to the social worker's report, which was also not admitted as evidence because there was no foundation. We did not expect the court to continue detention for another 6 weeks, so my father was very upset. We had assumed CPS would do their part again, but they failed to provide the referrals again for the counseling and testing for several more weeks. It was looking bad. It was looking very bad. In order to relieve my father's stress, we came up with a plan. We put Donnelly in daycare to give my father a break during the day, because I really didn't want to take the chance of bringing Donnelly home during the day, because that was just, he had to be here or at daycare. We had a routine that included taking the children home every night, though. Oh, there's Donnelly playing with little Guy at my dad's house. So Kayla would get ready for school. I'd get Donnelly ready for daycare. We'd drop off Kayla at school and then go on over to my dad's house. And then me and my dad would take Donnelly to daycare. And then I would drop my dad off at home, and I would go home. In the afternoon, I'd pick up Kayla from school and bring her home for a couple hours. And we went over to my dad's, and my dad and I would pick Donnelly up from daycare. We'd go back to my dad's house. I'd make dinner, clean up, see if there was any homework Kayla needed to do. And we left at about 7:30 p.m., and we just went on home. It was a little stressful at first, but we would take extra steps to ensure not being seen as we entered the house. But CPS never came by. We would just open up the garage door and just go right into the garage, close the garage door, and get out of the car. A couple times I wore a wig. So that's a little hard to read. It says, what do you call a person who accuses you of doing something that you do not do, but it's exactly what they do? I believe that's a narcissist. And that narcissist in our life started causing more trouble in March 2011, that same year. See, Bill's ex-wife Leslie somehow found out that what we were doing, and she tried to coerce Bill into giving her money. She claimed that their daughter needed pants. However, she demanded that Bill not tell their daughter that she was asking for money. She left several voicemail messages that I have saved, and you can hear them at the end of this video. Now, this woman is a narcissist, sociopathic, twisted liar. She accuses others of doing the exact things she is guilty of doing, literally projecting herself onto others and playing the victim. She demanded money, or else she would tell the judge everything she knows or everything she's heard or something like that. When Bill refused to be blackmailed, was not really blackmailed, but more like coerced, she got very upset. And at the end of the video, like I said, I've included the voicemails along with some enlightening truths about Leslie Logan Hoyle, who was married to David Hoyle, who is a pervert. Anyway, when Bill refused to be coerced, Leslie did exactly what she said she was going to do, and she called our social worker directly and left a voicemail. And the social worker was kind enough to provide documentation of that voicemail and the phone number of the person who was leaving the voicemail, because she left her number. And that phone number, guess who that is? Leslie. That was the very next day. The very next day. That's her phone number there. I think she's changed it since then, because I've had this video out before, another video about her, and I think she changed it for that reason. The next day, a social worker was scheduled to visit the daycare. We thought it was our newly assigned social worker, so Bill stopped by the daycare to meet her and head off the issues we knew were going to arise due to the ex-wife's harassment and threats. Bill did call the daycare prior to arriving, but then he realized that it wasn't that social worker that was coming by. It was another social worker regarding helping my dad fund the daycare. So when Bill found that out, he just asked to see Donnelly, and the daycare worker was very rude to him and said no and acted like he was some kind of threat, and he was confused. He wasn't warmly welcomed at all, because the social worker had already been there the day before that. So the woman was told many awful things about Bill that weren't true. So when Bill got home, I suggested him that he call the daycare to apologize for any misunderstandings. When he called, the woman's husband answered, and he sounded drunk, and he was obnoxious and rude to Bill, and this caused us concern for the safety of our son there. So we talked it over that evening, and we decided to switch daycares. The next morning, I called a woman who had watched Donnelly in the past, and we were lucky that she had room and agreed to let us bring in there that morning. And we did that without consulting my dad, because we really didn't think we had to. But my dad became very upset with us both, and Bill and him did some arguing, and it resulted in my dad telling us not to bring the kids to his house anymore, and that he stated he didn't want to help us anymore. And after the argument, Bill and I discussed at length the severity of the situation. We felt it was strange of the daycare to treat Bill that way, since he was the one who originally interviewed the daycare lady and paid for the services. We felt the pressure, and we didn't want to take any chances, so we just decided to move. We took the kids and we moved. We packed that night, and while I stayed behind to take care of the packing up of the house, because, I wasn't supposed to be with the kids anyway, and I monitored the events that we expected to take place once the social worker found that the kids weren't at my dad's. And she came by the next day for their scheduled home visit. 2 or 3 days later, the same social worker, Beth Daunt, came by with the police, and they made several attempts, but I didn't answer the door, so they just went away. And when CPS questioned my dad, he let them believe that we took the kids without his permission, because that's what we had agreed months prior. Blame it on us, and he wouldn't get in any trouble. Not that he would. But according to the official police report log, no report was made in regards to our children being abducted. Later, the Hemet PD allegedly made a statement for the press which indicated that the officers did not feel that our children were at any risk or in any danger. So we moved to Arizona. So Bill was in Arizona with the kids, and I was packing up. But here, I'll let you listen to the voicemail now.
Sent Tuesday, March 8 at 2:41 p.m. Hey, Bill, I really need to talk to you. Please call me back ASAP. I guess I'll tell you what it's about. I need money, like yesterday. I need money for Alex. Don't call her. You call her, I will be in court asking for money. I'm not angry. I'm very frustrated. She has no pants. All of her pants have holes in them. I need money to take her shopping. Please help me take care of our daughter. I'm not angry. Please help me, Bill. I need help. I haven't asked you for anything. Please help. Please don't call me and tell me I was mean. Please don't call me and tell me that I was rude. I'm frustrated. I'm irritable. I'm so tired of hearing about your problem. I have a problem. I have a daughter who's in therapy. I have a daughter who has no pants. And I have an ex-husband who does not give us any child support because he doesn't have any money, ever. Please find money somewhere. If you don't, I will actually do something about it. I am not going to put up with this anymore. You understand that I can't take this anymore? That can't. I just have done so much for you, Bill. I don't feel at all like you're being fair with me. Did you give a crap about my life or our life? Please help us, and I will do my best to always help you. I'll be waiting for your call. I'll meet you halfway. Literally meet you halfway in the car to pick up money. Help me today.
End of message. Delete. Press 7. Save.
She was so
Press
fucking
9.
crazy.
More options. Press 0. Resave. Sent Tuesday, March 8th at 2:45 p.m.
I sure hope you listen to your messages, because I'm going to say this again, and I mean it with everything in my body. Dear God, help me say this right. In Jesus' name, amen. Bill, if you call Alex and tell her that I've called you, I promise you that I will take you to court. I promise that I will tell the judge everything I know, everything I've heard. You sell morphine. You're clean. You sell morphine to survive. If that's what you told me on numerous occasions. There's a conspiracy theory for everything. I promise you. Do not tell Alex I called you. Simple. Don't make this complicated. I need help. I need whatever you can help me with. Right now, our daughter has no parents. So you either help me as much as you can. Donnelly and Kayla get whatever they want. Kayla got a $500 camera for Christmas. Our son's got nothing. I had to push you in Target as you were complaining about Sharon and how miserable she's making your life every day. And why is she even living there? I don't know. Why are the kids there? I don't know. Supposedly they weren't supposed to. You know what? But I don't want you to call me and talk about it. I'm demanding that you don't talk about it. I'm making the rules right now. I'm done listening to your problems. It's time you either listen to mine or you just show me the child support money that we agreed upon. You've not given me 1 cent. I didn't get the house. I didn't get the cars. I didn't get the furniture. I didn't get my stinking refrigerator, which I asked for. I don't care. You can have it. I want my child to have pants. I will meet you halfway. If you ever talk to Sharon, who doesn't supposedly live there, or isn't supposed to be there, or isn't supposed to be kids, if you talk to Sharon about this phone call, if you let her listen to it, if she talks to Alex about it, and if I find out about it, which I will, believe me, I have my ways. Alex doesn't tell me things. I find out things. I know by the way she's anxious. She has to take medication. And she's so stressed. If anybody ever hears this conversation, including my children, my son, anybody, but you and I, if you cause any emotional damage between anybody, any of our children, I promise you, you will be in court very, very soon, making child support arrangements. Whether or not you pay them is a different matter. Please help me and call me and do exactly as I say. I am begging you. Do not hurt our kids anymore. Do not hurt them emotionally by involving them in grown-up conversations. Don't call Alex. Don't call Billy. Don't sell drugs to Billy. Don't do anything anymore that causes any more damage to anyone. Don't call me back and complain about this next
End of message. Delete. Press 7. Save. Resave. Sent Tuesday, March 8 at 3:54 p.m.
Well, you know, it's really sad. You've lost your mind. It doesn't matter where I live. I can live, if you don't remember our classes, I can live in a garage with my child on the floor as long as we're safe. And I think you've forgotten that. I pity you. You've done so many drugs and gotten so crazy. And you've sold drugs, done drugs, you've done so much crap. Everything CPS is accused of, it's true. No wonder they won't leave you alone, Bill. You know, you won't do what they say. They tell you to get rid of Sharon. Sharon lives around the corner. Everything they tell you to do, you won't do it. You've lost your mind. That is a very sad, sad thing. Because you're my kid's dad. And guess what? My kids don't have a dad anymore. They have a drug dealer. They have a liar, a manipulator, someone who completely has lost his senses. Do you wonder why they keep you on? They don't need me to call. All they have to do is listen to me. You've lost your mind. You make people insane around you. They don't want to be around you. You taught my son addicted to drugs. You sell morphine as your way of life. You know, I really thought you were going to make it, and I will still pray for you. That will never stop. But you have no reason not to help take care of your daughter. And you don't have a conscience about it. So I'm really isn't supposed to be living with you, nor Taylor, and Sharon sure as hell isn't supposed to be living there. Who do you think you are? Gosh, I pity you. I truly pity you.
End of message. Delete. Press 7. Set. Resave. Sent Tuesday, March 8 at 4:18 p.m.
Hi, Bill. It's Sharon. Listen, I just thought of something that you might want to do. I don't really know, but it's a thought. Would you maybe want to talk to David Thurman about your concerns about what's going on? He's not working anymore either. But he was a supervisor there, and he might be willing to talk to you. You know, I would suggest, if you want to, that you gather up all of your paperwork from court. And if you'd like, I'll give him a call and ask if it's okay for you to contact him. But I can't think of much else to suggest that you do at this point, right? All right? I'll talk to you later.
End of message. Resave. Sent Wednesday, March 9 at 2:04 p.m.
Hey, Mr. Burns, it's Beth Dot with CPS. We had a
Resave. Sent Wednesday.
There was something I left out regarding the ex-wife wanting me to move out. If you notice at the end of the video, there's the voicemails that she left. And if you listen carefully, you will hear her say, "And Sharon, we told you, we told you to get rid of her." She says, "We told you to get rid of her." We. Who's we? Her? And who else? CPS. Right? Her and her mother. So I just wanted you to just pay attention to that at the end of the video. There's something else I wanted to say. Oh, I have other sites too, not just Donnelly Justice. We have our Donnelly Justice self-help site, and we have Child Predator Services, and I also have, well, it's the blogho, www.theblogho.wordpress.com. And hey, check out my eBay store. Might as well just plug my eBay store while I'm at it. It is http://random stuff, the number 4 sale.storefrontpro.com. And yeah, so anybody who looking for some dog toys or dog beds, I got some good deals on there. I've also got cat supplies and fish supplies, aquariums. I have all kinds of stuff. Just random stuff for sale. And thanks again for supporting our site, and appreciate your support. Thanks.